Seagate, believe it or not, this drama began quietly because this was responsible disclosure back in the middle of March of this year, March 18th. A company named Tangible Security that we've never run across before, they found just a shocking problem with Seagate-generated Wi-Fi drives. Seagate has these wireless hard drives, which they sell under the wireless plus mobile storage, and then just mobile storage names, and then LaCie, is that how you pronounce it? LACIE. They are a relabeler, and their version of the same drive is called the Fuel. So, and it may well be that others that have been OEM rebranded of the Seagate Wireless, these Wi-Fi drives, could have the same problem. Well, it turns out, it's just hard for me even to believe this, that in the firmware of this wireless hard drive, they undocumented and hard-coded remote telnet access with the default credentials of root as the username, and then the device's default password. It's like, no. Wait, what year is this? This is 2015. So what that means is that anyone who has Wi-Fi access to the network that this thing is on can telnet to this wireless hard drive. Which is to say, our techie listeners know that basically telnet is a remote command prompt. It's a remote console. Yeah. So
and nobody uses it because it's insecure in itself.
Oh, it's like, yeah.
Sending it in the clear.
Everyone now uses SSH, which is an encrypted. It's sort of like SSH is the SSL version of telnet. But so this is an unencrypted, in the clear, what is it, port 23, I think?
22? 23?
Just sitting there, ready to, accepting TCP connections. And so you give your telnet client, and it's like, log me in as root and whatever the default password is for the device. That is the factory password. And you get a prompt. It says, hi there. Hi there, root. What would you like to do? So
that was obviously left in for remote patches and support and administration. But why they would leave it in the firmware?
Well, yeah. So first of all, you would never want your root user to be called root. At least name it gibberish. But the problem is this. We know this is not safe. People are going to look at the firmware and or do a port scan. You could do a port scan of your hard drive, and it's going to be answering TCP connections on the telnet port, and then that's going to beg the question, well, telnet is, so that means that the telnet service is running on this hard drive. Okay, even that phrase is bad.
It means you have a daemon running on the software. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's nuts on a hard drive. It's like, okay, we don't want that. So anyway, the good news is there is an update. You can download it so what happened was Seagate was notified on March 18th. In a very short time, I was impressed with this. 12 days later, on the 30th, they replied and confirmed there were vulnerabilities. Then, unfortunately, it took 100 days before anything happened. So this has been out there since the release of these drives. And these guys found firmware dated October 2014. So they said the following devices with firmware versions 2.2.0.005 and 2.3.0.014. They said dating back to October 14 are vulnerable to 3, and I've only talked about 3 attack vectors. And then they said other firmware versions may be affected as well. So the takeaway here is if you have Seagate Wi-Fi hard drives, you want to go and update your firmware. So the first of the three was their use of hard-coded credentials to give a telnet user root access to the drive. And these guys wrote, the affected device firmware contains undocumented telnet services accessible by using the default credentials of root as the username and the default password. An attacker can covertly take control of the device, not only compromising the confidentiality of files stored on it, but use it as a platform to conduct malicious operations beyond the device. Because, of course, they can, download and run any other services that they want to. I mean, this is just unbelievable. Okay, second problem. They called direct request forced browsing.
Wait a minute, there's another one?
There's two more. Yeah.
What a mess.
I know. The affected device firmware provides unrestricted file download capability. Attackers can gain access to all files stored in affected devices. This is through some other undisclosed mechanism other than this telnet problem. So the affected device firmware provides unrestricted file download capability, meaning that there's no security, basically. Attackers can gain access to all files stored in affected devices. This vulnerability requires attackers to be within range of the device's wireless network. Well, yeah, because it's a Wi-Fi device. So maybe that means, so that wasn't a limitation on the telnet access. So this may be different. This could, for example, maybe it's not routable through the border router. Again, we're scanned on details because they're not wanting to talk about this until everybody gets this fixed. And right now, this just happened. So right now, nobody has this fixed. And third, unrestricted upload of file of dangerous types. The affected device firmware provides a file upload capability to the device's /media/SDA2 file system, which is reserved for file sharing. This vulnerability requires attackers also to be within range of the device's wireless network in order to upload files to it. If such files were maliciously crafted, they could compromise other endpoints when the files are opened. So, wow, about as bad as it gets. Just, again, it's like, here's Seagate, a company with a great reputation. On the other hand, we do know that many of these high-profile companies are getting their firmware from third parties in the same way that TP-Link made the hardware for Google's OnHub.
It also could be a reference platform that they left that in for remote updates of the software, and you're supposed to take it out before you ship. And
yes, I mean, how hard is it to stop a service from running on boot in Linux? It's like not. You just don't. So it's like they shipped it by mistake and left the telnet service running.
And of course,
it's like,
there is one way it could be worse. If Hillary Clinton used it for her email server, then we know. Then we know we got trouble right here in River City.
In River City, yes.